All right, it's time to be judged by AbsoluteGreenLantern. Let's talk about Absolute Green Lantern issue number 3. Warning, there will be spoilers. So our issue starts out with John Stewart out and about in the city. We find out that the light barrier has been around the town for several days now. Nobody can really exit or enter. He's talking to this guy about what can we actually do to possibly get out of the barrier, and he starts to theorize and possibly hypothesize exactly how he's going to get out, and he actually ends up throwing a ring he had, and it actually ends up going through the barrier. So we end up switching over back to Hal and Joe in the demolished cafe that they were in the previous issue. And Joe's kind of like, you killed all these people, like what's going on exactly? And Hal starts talking about how it's the Black Hand. He can't really control it. And he kind of turns away from her, and he forms this, I don't know if it's he forms this gun out of the Black Hand, but he ends up shooting Joe, and Joe actually ends up activating her Green Lantern powers for the first time that we see, and she takes him out, and Hal's wondering, how exactly can you control your powers when I can't? So John ends up gathering Hal and Joe to run some tests on the wall, and he asked Hal to bring a little action figure that is a gold-plated Blue Devil, which is pretty funny. And he's like, let's see what happens, because I ended up throwing a ring out there that was I think gold-plated. So what if it's kind of like a fake gold? And they put the Blue Devil action figure through the wall, and it goes through. And they're like, what if we actually get real gold? And how much gold do we need to get through the barrier? So John, believing that they can use real gold because of some alchemic properties the barrier might have, he throws his grandmother's ring through the barrier, and it makes a big hole, and then sucks back in to not have a hole. And they're like, oh my god, this actually worked. How much gold do we need to get to actually get through this? And who happens to show up but AbsoluteGreenLantern? And AbsoluteGreenLantern says that John, you are going to be judged. And sadly, John does not make it through this issue. He gets vaporized, and things go from bad to worse as we see Hal end up stepping up at the end of this issue, where he starts saying he's going to be the one to have to do things, and you see him at the end of this basically painting bullets gold to possibly take on AbsoluteGreenLantern. All right, so let's take a look at the internal artwork. There's your creative team right there. I didn't notice, but mine had a little ding on it. I gotta get a new issue. For the artwork, I love this cover, by the way. This cover is beautifully well done. The artwork is just as good as I feel the last previous issues were. We seem to focus a lot on John Stewart in this issue, which is pretty surprising. I was kind of hoping we would focus more on Joe, but the artwork definitely shines at this point when we see Joe and Hal talking with each other, and we get to see them use their perspective powers and whatnot, and we get to see Joe use her Green Lantern power for the first time. Beautifully well done, in my opinion. I love all the energy that they use and stuff, and all the energy effects and stuff. It is such a well done part of this issue, and I love seeing her go full Green Lantern, which was pretty cool. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the issue, where we get to see little absolute Blue Devil right there. I mean, that made the book for me, to be honest. I wasn't expecting a Blue Devil reference in this, but yeah, artwork solid as usual. So I do have to say, I did enjoy this issue a lot more than the previous two issues. I feel like we are starting to slowly, progressively move the story along, in a sense where, we finally get to see Joe use her Green Lantern ring and use her powers, which is pretty cool to see. And I feel like that is definitely going to come to a head with the fact that, we have the Black Hand and the Black Hand seems to want the light. So we're going to have a battle over the light itself with the Green Lantern and stuff like that. But I'm interested to see how Abin Sur is going to really like be involved in this, and are they going to go after Abin Sur together, or is it going to be like a very antagonistic sort of situation? I do have to say, I feel like Jon Stewart's death was very cheapened in this issue. I don't feel like it was really earned. It kind of just came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, like, that's it? Okay, maybe we'll get more ramifications from that in the next issue moving forward. But I kind of feel like it just came out of nowhere, and it was not a deserved death for somebody like Jon Stewart. But I am interested to see where this moves and goes forward. We are definitely getting a lot more breadcrumbs dropped within this story. And yeah, I mean, it is better than the last couple issues, I feel like. And I feel like it's starting to move in possibly a really interesting direction moving forward with the Absolute Green Lantern. But I would love to hear your thoughts down below. I'm Otaku Mike, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.